Good morning, gentlemen. Wonderful time, but I'm going to talk to you about something very important, and that's the Ukraine war. Now, the Ukraine war is on for a couple of years, and the West has not been able to win. I will say the West has not been able to win or defeat Russia mainly because of some inherent contradictions. First is the leadership of the West, second is the resources of the West, third is it's a historical necessity that times have changed and one must recognize it. You don't want to recognize the change in the historical change of what has happened, then it's your fault. So, gentlemen, what happened actually is that the Russians have gained a lot of territory in Ukraine, and the Americans and the West have decided to pump in billions of dollars, and this is not their money, this is the Russian assets which they were holding on to in the West. Almost $60 billion, they're going to pump it into Ukraine, and that means there's going to be no peace. Mark my word, there'll be no peace. So let's be very clear, gentlemen, that what is happening is very dangerous, and I think the Americans are flouting the canons of international law. That is what I want to say. But what's going to happen now? Let's see. There was a conference held of 90 countries in Switzerland, and this was ostensibly supposed to bring about peace in Ukraine. Now, I don't know how you can bring about peace in Ukraine without Russia being a participant. And this was brought out by India, the UAE, and some other countries who refused to sign the declaration. So it was a wasteful experience. I don't think why this conference took place. That is number one. Then there was the G7 conference, I'll bring that to your point, which Modi attended. And if you see the videos of that conference, you'll find that President Joe Biden appeared to be lost. I mean, he seemed to be a man who is not in this world. I mean, he had to be gently reminded by the Italian Prime Minister a number of times to focus on what is happening. That means he was totally off color. He didn't know what's happening. Now, if that is the condition of the chief executive of the United States, then you can wonder what's going to happen. But another thing we must remember is that in case Biden is so incapacitated, then who's the man who's running the American show? Well, as per Sajid Tarar, one of the Pakistanis who settled in America and a member of the Republican Party, as per him, it is President Barack Obama, ex-president. Now, he's the man who's running all the shots, running the administration. He's been running for the last 12 years in the name of Biden. And Biden is just, a figurehead sitting there. So, gentlemen, this is a very dangerous proposition because Obama, as we all know, has got latent sympathies with the Islamic world. Number one, he's a Muslim, born as a Muslim, attended the madrasa for 2 years. Then he knew he had no future in America as a Christian, as a Muslim, so he converted. I mean, I won't go into that. That is the way it appears to me. May be true, may not be true, I can say. But he's the man calling the shots, and the net result of all this is that the Americans are upping the ante in Ukraine. Now, what's going to happen in Ukraine now? The Russians have already said we will retaliate, and they could retaliate in a very big way. And there is a statement by the Polish Prime Minister in which he said Russia should be broken up into about 100 countries, and because it's not a country which is cohesive, it has got so many ethnic minorities, this thing, that thing. I mean, this man is talking all crap. I think he's forgotten the occupation of the Nazis from 39 to 45, when the Poles were made into slaves. And now he's joining the Germans in the same sort of game, thinking that he's going to be a big hero. I think that he's going to lead Poland to doom. The other man whose days seem to be getting numbered is Macron. He seems to be totally bewildered at the turn of events, the failure of the Western allies to bring Russia to its knees. And now he is wanting to commit French troops into battle in Ukraine. I hope he doesn't do that thing so silly, because the Russians had told him that you might remember the campaign of Napoleon in 1812, when Napoleon had to run away from Russia like a mongrel after he was defeated. So, gentlemen, the situation appears to be very grim as far as I can say it. and India is doing a fine balancing act, but Russia has a strong ally in China and Iran, and their military power is pretty high, and the Americans have not even been able to beat the Houthis. Let's accept that fact. The question, gentlemen, now is happening is what is going to happen next. If you remember, there was a Munich conference, and Chamberlain came back and said, I have won peace for our time. Wonderful. Now, how do you compare a conference with the Ukraine war? Well, the results are the same. Whereas Chamberlain has said, I want peace for my time and led to World War III, here the Western powers are thinking they'll bring Russia to their knees and win the war, and it's not going to happen because it probably will lead to World War III, and that would be very catastrophic. I don't think people in the smaller countries like Belgium, Denmark, Poland, Estonia, Latvia are realizing that these small countries will just cease to exist on the world map. I mean, are they realizing it? I don't know whether they realize it, because Europe as it has got a lot of problems. They got a demographic problem, declining younger population. They got a cancer eating inside them, that is the Islamic population, which doesn't listen to what the governments are saying. They want their own Sharia, etc. France is in trouble. And then they are also facing a far right reaction. The far right seems to be winning all over Europe. And once they win, I think they will have an accommodation with Russia. That's my way of thinking. As far as Ukraine is concerned, I think it's destroyed. Zelensky must be given a medal for that. He is not only a stooge of the Americans, he's their puppet, you name whatever it is. He's a yes man. He's one of the courtiers who keeps groveling before the Senate, before anyone. Give me aid, give me aid, give me weapons, I want to fight Russia. Well, what the hell do you want to fight Russia for? I mean, I couldn't understand it. Best thing was to negotiate earlier on and see to it that peace is prevailed, that the Ukrainian people can get something better and they can move forward. But it's not happening like that. He's thinking of to win the war, and he knows he can't win it, and he's running around with a bulletproof car, always wearing a bulletproof vest, and he knows that he's under threat. But the cat may have 9 lives, but anything can happen anytime, so he should be very careful, because I think he has led Ukraine to destruction, and that is a historical fact that will be brought out in the years to come. Russia is not defeated. I don't think Russia is going to be defeated also, because ultimately the winner is going to be Russia. The Russians have a resilience, if you remember. They faced up to Hitler, they faced up to Napoleon, and they won. And they also were the winners in the Cold War till Nikita Khrushchev was there. But then the subsequent leadership, led by Brezhnev, let the Russians down, and finally the Soviet Union broke up. Otherwise, if the Soviet Union had not broken up, this problem with Ukraine would never have taken place, because Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union, the USSR. So, gentlemen, whatever you say, I will bring out the fact that this conference of 90 countries is another bloody farce. I don't know why it was held. India didn't sign the declaration along with Saudi Arabia, and that must have been a bit of a surprise to the Americans. And the Americans at that time don't know what to do, and they're doing a grave mistake by using the sources, the funds which are, which are Russian funds, which they have seized in their countries. See, all this is okay, and you probably think that you are right. There's an old saying, I am right, I'm always right. So that's what the Americans think, and the Western powers think. And they are thinking like this because for the last 300 years they were ruling the world. There was the age of colonialism, which was again engineered by the Western powers. Then you had the age of imperialism, and then the Americans as a superpower all over the world. So they think that every day is Sunday. So every day is Sunday, week is the same thing continue. But now there are resurgent powers. China is there, India is there, Russia is there. And they're going to poke something drastic in the coffin of the American hegemony. I think the best word is there are many nails going into the coffin of the American hegemony. We already know that the age of imperialism, France, England, all they are bloody third-rate powers now just sitting there, and they have small armies. They can't fight the Russians conventionally, and I don't know what's going to happen. I have a feeling that Munich would going to be repeated again, not in a conference, but the results are going to be similar, and it could well lead to World War III, and that would be the destruction of the smaller countries of Europe. I don't know how these countries realize, like Belgium, or Denmark, and Poland, shouting a lot that they would very soon cease to exist on the world map. I hope it doesn't happen, gentlemen. I'm a man of peace, but at the same time, the West must realize that Russia is not going to compromise. And if the West says they're not going to compromise, fair enough. At some stage, this will certainly blow up into World War III. I hope you like my video, gentlemen. Share it with your friends, and I look forward to talking to you again. Goodbye and God bless.